Ohio. Finland is a state in northern Europe on east coast of the Baltic Sea. In the east borders on Russia, on Norway, and in the west on Sweden in the north. In the south the closest neighbor is Estonia to the south from the Gulf of Finland. The capital and the largest city of Finland, Helsinki. Finland, as of July 1, 2021, rather sparsely populated country with the population in 5,543,659 people, concentrated generally in the southern and central parts of the country. The Constitution of Finland defines the Finnish and Swedish languages as national languages. At the end of 2020, speaking Finnish made 86.9% of the population. 4,811,067 people. Speaking Swedish -5.2% of the population. 287,871 people. And speaking Sami -0. With 4% of the population. People. Speaking other languages made 7.8%. 432,847 people of the population. Parliamentary Republic. Since February 5, 2012, the post of the president is held by Sauli Niinisto. Since December 6, 1917 is the independent state. 2017 is announced year of celebration of the 100th anniversary of independence of the country. Finland is a member of the Northern Passport Union. Since 1952. The United Nations. Since 1955. Nordic Council. Since 1956. The European Union. Since 1995. And the Schengen Agreement. Since 1996. In the World Report on Happiness of 2018, published by the Union, Finland won first place. In 2010 the country was on the first place in the Best Countries of the World list. English, the world's best countries. According to the Newsweek magazine, and also is the third in the rating of sexual equality. From 2011 to 2014, the American Fund for Peace estimated Finland as the stablest country of the world. The name of the country in Russian and many languages comes from the Swedish Finland. The Earth of Hunters, from Drevne Skandinavski Finn, hunter, and the Swedish land, earth, country. Finland toponym is mentioned in the saga about Inglingak. The 13th century. Written in Drevneslandski language. The Finnish name of the country, Suomi. For the first time it is mentioned on pages of the Novgorod Chronicles in the form of some. Since the beginning of the 12th century. There are several versions of origin of this name. The first people arrived in Finland about 8850-8400 years BB from the south and the southeast by the end of Ice Age at the time of the Ioldava Sea. It belonged to a combination of so-called cultures of Kand, Putovo and Verity which stretched from the Baltics to Lake Onega. At the same time people arrived in northern Finland along the thawed Norwegian coast. After Mesolith, Finland belonged in the 5200th year BB to an area of Yamashno Edge ceramics, stretching from the Gulf of Bothnia to the Urals. In the Bronze Age of communication of residents of internal areas were generally with Middle Volga and the Urals. Communities were small, and judging by archaeological finds, there was no division of labor and a social segregation or hierarchy. On all coasts there could be at least several hundreds of inhabitants. However, in the middle of a Bronze Age the population could be several thousands of people. Was at the time constructed the majority of barrows of an era of bronze, of which in Finland in total about 100,000 are known. At the beginning of a Bronze Age the Siemenskutubinski phenomenon brought the first bronze objects, generally bronze axes, to the western and central Finland and Lapland, and also, probably, and the new population. Along with distribution of Siemenski axes and use of textile ceramics, Finno-Ugric languages extended in Finland. Production of bronze extended to Finland from two directions. On the western coast of Scandinavia, together with, among other things, new method of burial, and also to internal and northern regions of the country from the east. The Finnish production of bronze axes began with production of so-called bronze axes like Moninga and Akosinomeller about 1300 BC. Bronze for production of objects was delivered from the Volga region and the southern Scandinavia. The first ironwares appeared on the territory of Finland about 800–400 years BB. Traces of use of iron were found on the coast since the 5th century BC. In the Iron Age, agriculture and livestock production became more widespread. However, fishing was still important. Agriculture increased the population, and at the time of the Vendelski period and the era of Vikings, especially in the southern parts of the country, the population grew, and settlements extended in Higham and Savo. The dead began to be buried with objects at cemeteries. The Sami languages gradually went deep into depth of the country. The sphere of influence of Catholic Church and Christianity extended to Finland in the 11th and 12th centuries. The Orthodox Christianity extended in Karelia from the east in the 12th century, and at the same time influence of Novgorod increased. The end of the Iron Age in Finland is called the Crusade period. It begins approximately in 1025 or 1050 and comes to an end in the western Finland approximately in 1150 or 1200, and in Karelia approximately in the 14th century. Time of Crusades was time of strong distribution of Catholic Church. Yuzhny, eastern northeast coast of the Baltic Sea at the beginning of the 12th century were pagan, but already 100 years later the Christianity became the dominating religion when the people of these regions got under influence of overseas conquerors. Within the Baltic Crusades, in connection with conquest of Estonia, Germans and Danes also acted on the Finnish coast, though they didn't gain a foothold in Finland. Danes made crusades to Finland at least in 1191 and 1202. Swedes also made expeditions to Finland to the Middle Ages, which in later historiography mistakenly called crusades. The first crusade to southwest Finland was made, probably, in the 1150th years. The Second Crusade began probably in 1238 or 1249 and was sent to Hioma, minding inhabitants, according to Irakin Chronica telling about an expedition. The Third Crusade, and probably the only real crusade of Swedes to Finland, was made against Karelians in 1293. It is considered that the Finnish historical time and the Middle Ages began with the birth of the first references. The oldest known written source about Finland is a letter of the father of Gravis Admidum of 1171 or 1172. The Bishop of Catholic Church, the Bishop of Turku, acted in southwest Finland, probably since the beginning of the 13th century. The Bishop of Finland is for the first time mentioned in the list of the Swedish bishops in 1253. The border between Sweden and Novgorod and at the same time eastern frontier of Finland was defined in 1323 in the Orkova world. As a result, Karelia was divided between Sweden and Novgorod. By church, the Swedish migration, the legislation and administration, including taxation, district administration and locks, connected new areas with Sweden more closely. Construction of Turku Castle and Tuhjama began about 1280, Viborg Castle on the place of the destroyed Karelian fortress, in 1293, and in 1300 the Cathedral of Turku is consecrated. In the Middle Ages the Hanseatic Union controlled trade in the Baltic Sea. In the 14th century, trade between the Hanseatic cities of northern Germany and Finland took place in the Basic through Tallinn. Since the end of the 14th and 16th century, Finland was a part of the Kalmar Union with Sweden. At the beginning of the 16th century, the climate began to be cooled again. At the end of 16th, 17th centuries, many houses and villages in the south of Finland were abandoned. At the same time, the Finnish settlements extended to new territories in Ostrobothnia and Savo. The population of Finland in the 16th century was estimated at card people. During Gustav Wasa's government in Sweden there was a strong central state. During the Reformation the Catholic belief was replaced by the doctrine of Martin Luther, who preached the direct addressing of believers the Bible. The first translations of religious books into Finnish gave an initial impulse to development of the Finnish literary language. In 1584 there was a translation of New Testament to the Finnish made by the reformer of Church Mikael Agricola. The basis of modern Finnish was formed by a combination of a number of the Finnish dialects, first of all the Western Finland. At the time of the great powers of Sweden it was succeeded to broaden the territories around the Baltic Sea during wars. On the Stolbovsky world in 1617 Ingria and the county of Koiksalmi, which included the Ladoga Karelia and northern Karelia, were annexed to Sweden. Positions of Sweden failed in the 18th century during Northern War. In 1700 Sweden won the Battle of Narva, but in the next years the Russian Emperor Peter I managed to win Ingria from Sweden. In 1721 war was ended by the Nystatsky peace treaty after transition of Finland to Russia. Finland, which was occupied with Russia during war, was generally returned to Sweden, but the southeast part of the country was attached to Russia approximately along present border. During the Russian-Swedish War of 1741-1743 Finland was repeatedly occupied, and the eastern frontier of Sweden moved to the Kemijoki River. Despite wars, the second half of the 18th century was time of relative development and prosperity for the country, unlike the last century. In 1807 Russia, under the terms of the Tilsit World, became the ally of the French Empire in fight against Great Britain and its allies. Sweden was one of the allies of Great Britain. Russia was obliged to force Sweden to join so-called continental blockade of the British Isles. Great Britain, in turn, suggested Sweden to pay £1 million for every month of war how many she went and also to land the British forwarding case in Sweden. The King Gustav IV Adolf defiantly returned to Alexander the highest award of the Russian Empire granted to them, Andrew I Koled's Award. Gustav IV Adolf said that he can't wear the same medal, as well as Napoleon Bonaparte, as it humiliates him. As diplomatic efforts of Russia didn't bring results, at the beginning of 1808 the Russian troops began approach in southeast Finland, and in the summer of the same year Alexander I declared conquest of Finland. On March 15, 1809 the Russian Emperor signed the Manifesto on State System of Finland, which he maintained in her territory. As regards internal affairs, operation of the Swedish legislation, what it was announced at opening of the first-class meeting of representatives of the people of Finland next day.
However, military operations continued with the essential breaks till summer of 1809 and ended with the conclusion on September 5 in Fredriksdam of the World between Russia and Sweden, on which Sweden ceded to Russia Finland and Västerbotten as part to the rivers of Tornio and Muonio.
Tornio, Ylitornio, Palo, Kolari, Muonio's modern communities, and Anantakio.
Since 1840 years, at the time of Nicholas I's government in the Principality, reforms in the field of education began to be undertaken.
From now on, at local schools teaching in Finnish was allowed. The highest pleasure on the edition of religious, historical and economic literature in national languages was received. This policy was pursued also at the Emperor Alexander II. In 1858 there was the first lyceum where teaching was conducted in Finnish. From 1860 years in the Grand Duchy there was a steady cultural rise. Progressive forces of the local intellectuals tried to obtain giving to Finnish of the status that was made by Alexander II. Besides, at the legislative level the equality of the Swedish and Finnish languages in court and administration was recognized. Appeared on September 18, 1861 the first issue of the Swedish newspaper Barometern. It was the first newspaper in Swedish which is regularly issued in the Russian Empire. In the first years of the edition the Finnish Barometern becomes the liberal ideal of residents of the Governorate General speaking Swedish. In 1863 in Helsingfors, after a long break, the Finnish Diet is convoked again. The foundation was laid for the reforms which strengthened the autonomous status of the Grand Duchy Finnish.
The unpopular process of violent Russification, which began in 1899, only promoted strengthening of fight for independence and spread protest moods in multinational society of Finland. In 1917, after the February Revolution and falling of autocracy in Russia, the power passed to provisional government which met public opinion.
In Finland the manifesto cancelling all measures of the integration which was carried out since 1899 was published. The privileges of Finland lost later revolutions of 1905 were renewed. The new Governor-General was appointed and the Diet is called. However, after declaration as Diet unilaterally of independence of Finland in internal affairs, the law on restoration of the autonomous rights of Finland approved by Diet was rejected by the decision of Provisional Government of Russia of July 18, 1917. The Diet is dismissed, and his building was occupied by the Russian troops.
However, the parts of the Russian army which were in the Grand Duchy had no control over a situation anymore.
The police were dismissed and ceased to keep order, therefore in the country disorders amplified.
In general, to summer of 1917 the idea of independence gained considerable distribution. The October Revolution of 1917, which overthrew provisional government, allowed the Finnish Senate to sign on December 4, 1917 the Declaration of Independence of Finland, which was approved by Parliament on December 6. Thus, independence of Finland, which was at the same time announced by the Republic, the Finnish Republic, was declared. On December 18, 1917, as the Resolution 6 refers, it was offered to recognize the state independence of the Republic of Finland. In December 1917, January 1918 fight Red, supported by the Russian Soviet Republic and Schweizer's security groups. The amateur fighting organization which for the first time arose in Revolution of 1905. The Union of the Force.
Forbidden in 1909 by the government of the Russian Federation and which revived in 1917 on the former principles but under a new name escalated.
This opposition developed into revolution and civil war.
During the revolution, Red proclaimed the revolutionary government of Finland, which accepted the name Council of National Representatives of Finland, which was supported by the Russian Soviet Republic. Council of National Representatives of Finland controlled the southern territory of the Republic.
Other territory was under control of the former Finnish Senate. This party is called White Finns. The frame of her future army was made by representatives of Schweizer's. White were supported by the German Empire, which sent the troops to Finland. After the end of civil war, they were left in Finland. The decisive change in the Finnish Civil War occurred on April 3, 1918, when under Helsinki the German forwarding building under command of the General Rüdiger von der Goltz landed. For 108 days of civil war in Finland, about 35,000 people died. Even after her termination, white terror of the minding Social Democrats and supporting them didn't stop. In total, over suspects of sympathies to left, from which 7,500 were put into concentration camps, were arrested. Because of tortures and anti-human conditions of keeping 13,500 people, 15%. In addition to 370 directly executed died. As a result of civil war of 1918 and carried out by the one forces of the Finnish, white, political repressions, in Parliament of Finland the ruling majority excluding participation of the left fractions was created. In the Parliament called in May 1918 from 92 deputy Social Democrats, 40 hid in Russia, and about 50 were arrested. To the first meeting there arrived 97 right deputies and only one Social Democrat, Matti Paasivuori. Parliament Stump got a nickname. The maximum number of deputies was 111, output 200. Because of incomplete representation of the decision of Parliament were especially disputable. Among deputies of Parliament, the monarchic ideas were especially popular. The monarchic form of government was widespread in Europe, same assumed the legislation of Finland inherited from the Swedish period. As a result, on October 9, 1918, Finland was announced by the kingdom. Financial Suomen Kuningaskuntahanke, literally the project of the Kingdom of Finland, and was elected by the king, the husband of the sister of the German Emperor Wilhelm II, the Prince Guise and Friedrich Karl in the Finnish transcription. However, all in a month in Germany there was revolution. The German Emperor Wilhelm II left the power and fled the country, and the Campian peace agreement, which ended World War I, in which Germany lost, was signed on November 11, 1918. Influence of Germany in Finland weakened, and the elected king didn't arrive in Finland and was forced to renounce. On December 16, the German troops left home. The state regents directed at this time. During expectation of arrival of the elected king by the regent, there was an acting actual head of the state, the chairman of the Senate. The government of Finland. Of Evansvinkuvid. After renunciation of the elected king of a throne on December 12, 1918, Svinkuvid declared to Parliament the resignation from the regent's position. On the same day, the Parliament approved resignation and elected the new regent of Finland, the General Mannerheim. But legally Finland remained a kingdom. In the period of Mannerheim's regency there was an active discussion concerning future state system.
The government presented to Parliament 2 projects of changes for the Republic and 2 for the monarchy.
Legislatively, change of the form of government happened on July 17, 1919, after elections of new structure of Parliament in March 1919. The uncertainty lasting 1.5 years came to the end, and the monarchic period lasting centuries, too. Finland became the Republic. On July 25, 1919, the first election of the President of Finland took place. Carlo Juho Stolberg became them. Civil war was developed both in Finland and in all Russia. At the same time, actions Finnish, White and Red weren't limited to the territory of Finland. On February 23, 1918, being at the station Antria, addressing troops, the Supreme Commander of the Finnish Army, General Gustav Mannerheim, said, "A sword oath," in which he said that, "won't enclose a sword in a sheath before the last fighter and Lenin's hooligan isn't expelled both from Finland and from East Karelia." At the end of March 1918, Northern Karelia included groups of Finnish White. The local government under the leadership of Profinsky of the Adjusted Supporters of Independence of Karelia was organized. After the end of civil war in Finland in May 1918, groups of Finnish White moved forward for occupation of East Karelia and the Kola Peninsula.
As a result, the civil war in Finland smoothly developed into the civil war in Karelia, which received the name of the First Soviet-Finnish War.
In the north, troops of Finland were resisted by forces of the Entente, which landed since March 1918 in Murmansk under the agreement with the Soviet government for protection of Murmansk and the railroad against possible approach of the German-Finnish troops. From the Finnish Red Guards, who receded on the east for actions Minds White Finns, related to Germans, on June 7, 1918, British created the Murmansk Legion led by Oskari Tukholm. Along with the Murmansk Legion in Kymi, the Karelian Legion. The Karelian Group, under Ivo Akova's command, was created.
On December 30, 1918, the Finnish troops under command of the General Vetser landed in Estonia, where they assisted the Estonian government in fight against the Soviet troops, proceeding already during the civil war in Russia.
The First Soviet-Finnish War on October 14, 1920, when the Tartu Peace Treaty, which recorded a number of territorial concessions from the Soviet Russia, was signed. At the time, the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic RSFSR terminated.
In the subsequent, already on November 6, 1921, the Second Soviet-Finnish War began. Invasion of the Finnish troops into East Karelia.
Finland decided to support a revolt east the Karelian.
Lifted as a result of actions of the Finnish activists propagandists acting in the territory of East Karelia since summer of 1921, and also about 500 Finnish soldiers performing various team functions among Erzan.
Divisions of the Red Finns emigrating to Rusfors after the Civil War in Finland, in particular, Ski Battalion of the Petrograd International Military School. The commander of Battalion Tova Antikainen took part in defeat of Belafinski troops.
The Second Soviet-Finnish War by signing in Moscow of the agreement between the governments of Rusfors and Finland on taking measures to ensuring inviolability of the Soviet-Finnish border was ended on March 21, 1922. In the winter of 1939, the Soviet Union began the Third Soviet-Finnish War. On the 1st of December 1939 in Terioki, on the part of the territory of the Karelian Isthmus occupied by the Soviet troops, creation of the Finnish Democratic Republic.
Deemed. The puppet state led by the communist Otto Kuusinen was proclaimed. The Treaty of Friendship and Mutual Aid between the USSR and Deemed was signed. However, powerful border strengthenings and competent actions of the Finnish army in defense stopped the Soviet approach. The Soviet troops could break through Mannerheim's line only to spring of 1940. Then the Finns, wishing to stop rapid Soviet approach, proposed conclusion of peace.
Thus, after several months of bloody fights, on March 12, 1940 in Moscow, the peace treaty, which recorded a number of territorial concessions in favor of the USSR, was signed, and Deemed was dismissed.
Finland lost a part of the territory, but kept independence. After the Short World, in 1941 Finland entered World War II on side of the countries of Axis. On June 21, 1941 the Finnish fleet began the Operation Regatta, on militarization of the Åland Islands and mining of the Gulf of Finland. On September 2, 1944, after heavy summer battles, Finland declared break in relations with Germany, and already on September 19 the same year called a truce with Great Britain and the USSR. After that, Finland combated already the German armed forces in the Finnish Lapland till spring of 1945. Though after the end of war the Finnish state for a long time got under powerful influence of the USSR, and like countries of Eastern Europe, Finland not was occupied by the Soviet troops, kept all main democratic institutes, and in general remained a Western democracy. Finland also avoided Sovietization of the economy that gave her the chance to carry out fast industrialization, and in the 1970th years to reach the same standard of living as the country of Western Europe.
In April 1948, Finland signed with the Soviet Union the Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation and Mutual Aid. Thanks to it, a relationship between two countries on the basis of maintaining sovereignty of Finland was stabilized at submission of the foreign policy to the interests of the USSR.
So, during the vote in the General Assembly and the Union Security Council, the delegation of Finland voted or is solidary with delegation of the USSR, or abstained from vote. Nevertheless, it was necessary to pay the considerable price for maintaining the sovereignty and internal independence of Finland. The country paid the USSR to compensation for the damage caused to citizens of the USSR in the Finnish concentration camps during the Finnish occupation, finally refused the rights for Karelia, conceded the region of Patsomo, sold a small ground in Lapland.
Unlike foreign policy, trade relations of two countries were in general equal. Finland delivered cars and the ships to the USSR, receiving in exchange oil and other raw materials. In 1952 in Finland in Helsinki played the Summer Olympic Games. In 1956 Erkki Kekkonen was elected the President of Finland. 25 years of his presidency, 1956-1981, were characterized by the clever balanced actions. Kekkonen well owned an internal situation in the country. He also managed to strengthen a relationship with the West, without moving away at the same time from the USSR. Disintegration of the Soviet Union and the followed actual rupture of an economic relationship led to an economic crisis, very painful for Finland, in 1991-1994. During the worst period, unemployment in the country reached about 20% from all able-bodied population. Finland was included into the European Union on January 1, 1995. Finland is located in the north of Europe. The considerable part of her territory is beyond Arctic Circle. 25%. On the land borders on Sweden. The border makes 586 km. Norway. The border makes 716 km. And Russia. The border makes 1265 km. The sea border with Estonia passes across the Gulf of Finland, with Sweden in some places of the Gulf of Bothnia of the Baltic Sea. Length of the external coastline, without tortuosity, is equal to 1100 km. Coastline length, without islands, is 46000 km. In a coastal zone nearly 81000 islands are located. The size more than 100 m. Coastal lowlands, they extend along the Finnish and Botnicheski Gulfs, along which coast thousands of rocky islands are located. The main archipelagos, the Åland Islands and the archipelago of Turku. On the southwest coast, strongly dismembered coast outgrows to the archipelago, largest in Finland, the archipelago of Sea, with a set of islands of various size. The area of lakes, the internal plateau to the south from the center of the country with the dense woods and with a large number of lakes, swamps and bogs. Northern upper courses, most of which part is located beyond Arctic Circle, differ in quite poor soils. The Rocky Mountains and small heights are also characteristic of Lapland. In the same place, in the western part of Lapland, there is the highest point of Finland, 1324 meters above sea level. She is located on Hill Halti slope. Contrary to popular belief, this point isn't hilltop. Halti's top has height of 1365 m and is in the territory of Norway. Earlier the size of 1328 m was specified in reference books as the highest point of Finland. It was defined later that Halti's slope having such height is in the territory of Norway too. The highest point on the Finnish slope is at the height of 1324 m. Before emergence of the railroads in Finland there was no uniform time. From the beginning of construction in 1868 of railway communication street, Petersburg-Helsingfors, the movement was opened personally by the Emperor Alexander II on September 12, 1870. To the west from the Capianen station,
near Kouvola, the Helsinki time and to the East Street. Petersburg worked. The difference made 20 minutes. In 1888 the Emperor Alexander III the decree entered the Helsinki time on all railroads of the Grand Duchy Finnish. In 1921 Finland entered zone time.
Now all territory of the country is in the time zone designated according to the international standard as UTS+2, the East European time.
Heat. Shift from UTS is +2:00 standard time and +3:00 summertime. Seasonal time conversion works in the country. Time in Finland differs from Moscow time on 1 hour during the winter period also coincides in summer. The same time as in Finland apply the Baltic countries, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia.
It differs from Central European time for +1 hour. In 1942 for the short period in the country summertime was for the first time entered, and since 1981 time conversion on summertime in Finland began to be made regularly.
Since 1996 transition to summertime is carried out last Sunday of March. Time conversion for 1 hour ahead. And the return transition last Sunday of October at o'clock. Cancellation of transition to summertime doesn't find in Finland broad support. Since 2002, according to the directive of the European Union 2000/84/EC. In Finland, as well as in other countries of the Union, transition to summertime is carried out at 1 o'clock in the morning across Greenwich. Finland has a temperate climate, transitional from sea to continental, depending on the accidental direction of air flows.
Surrounding temperatures normally affect arrangement in middle latitudes of the most board of northern latitude 60-70 and the Atlantic Scandinavian coast, proceeding on west side of Gulf Stream that increases temperature of the Finnish winter above in comparison with other regions of the same weather zone.
Style temperature increase because of Gulf Stream is about 6-11 C. Within a year in the country the western winds with frequent cyclones prevail.
According to data of the research conducted by the University of Eastern Finland and Meteorological Institute for the last 166 years, growth of temperature in Finland averaged 2.3 degrees.
Winters are moderately cold.
In spite of the fact that in a northern part of the country during the winter period polar night.
In Utsioki its duration is 2 months. Dominates in the southern areas sun shines from 48. Winter 1987/88. Till 195 o'clock. Winter 1996/97. The amount of precipitation in Finland strongly varies from the region to the region. The smallest amount of precipitation in Lapland and Ostrobothnia's coast, where the annual amount of precipitation makes about 40 cs. On Ostrobothnia's coast a low rainfall is influenced, among other things, by blizzards. It is most damp in east and southeast Finland, where the annual amount of precipitation makes about 70 cs. On the southwest and southern coasts about 70 cs of rainfall a year also drop out. The most damp month in the southern Finland, August, when the average amount of precipitation makes about 17 In the southern part of Finland, unlike northern areas, the most damp time proceeds far in the fall, and not just in August. While in November in the district of Oulu and Lapland already rather chilly, in the southern Finland on average 70 of rainfall usually drop up. Rains can be formed in Finland differently.
Convection rainfall in the form of pouring rains and thunderstorms because of evaporation from the soil and vegetation in the summer. The frontal rainfall caused by a difference of temperatures at collision of cold and warm air masses and rainfall with the low Atlantic pressure, most of which part goes in the form of a drizzle, is the most typical.
Thickness of snow cover at the end of December averages in the north of the country -40 cs, in the central regions, about 30 cs, and in the south of the country -10 cs. December 1915, 1965, 1973, 1980, 1981 and 2010 were the most snow. According to data of the Meteo Center of Finland, average of the summer days celebrated by rainfall in the form of a hail -40, and in 2010 in Saastamoll loss of hailstones of 8 cs in the diameter is recorded. Average temperature of February in the south of Finland: 6 C in Lapland, 14 C. In July, respectively, +17 in the south and 2 +14 in the north. The average number of hot days of June, with a temperature from +25, 1 up to +30 C, which is considered border of a heat for Finland. -8 days. 38 days in a row with a temperature above +25.1 C. 1973 and 2014 were the hottest. 2020 became the warmest in Finland for all history of meteorological measurements. The lowest temperature in the territory of Finland, as of February 14, 2011, was observed on January 28, 1999 in Kittels community. 51. 5 C, the highest on July 29, 2010 in Liperis community, Northern Karelia, +37.2 C. The most part of Finland is located in the lowland, but in the northeast some mountains reach height of more than 1,000 meters. The highest point of the country, a mountain slope, Halti, 1324 m.
Located in Lappi in the Scandinavian mountains near border with Norway.
Finland is located on ancient 3 billion years. A granite crystal board stretching near all Scandinavia and the Kola Peninsula. The Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Bothnia also are on this board, and are in fact the lake which was formed during Ice Age. Thickness of ice reached 3 km that caused a crust deflection to 1 km. After a descent of a glacier, the return process which continues now began. Speed of rise is maximum in the north of the Gulf of Bothnia, about 90 cs in a century. In places the steel rings fixed into granite for attachment of vessels, but now being in hundreds of meters from the coast remained.
It is estimated that at a descent of glaciers about 7 meters of radical breed were on average torn off. Now 3% of the territory of the country, open granite, and 11% are hidden under a layer less than 1 meter thick.
The most part of radical breed is hidden by deformed rainfall to several tens meters thick. Traces of a glacier are noticeable, for example, by a complex system of lakes and by the huge boulders which are found through the whole country. 52% of radical breed or various grades of granite, 22%, the mixed breeds, 9%, layered breeds, 8%, diabases, 4%, quartzes and sands, 4%, granulates, 0.1%, limestones. The most ancient in Europe. Annually in the country it is fixed from 10 to 20 weak tremors. Earthquakes measuring over 4 points were on the Richter scale noted in Tornio in 1898 and in a northern part of the Gulf of Bothnia on March 20, 2016. Almost all rivers of Finland flow into the Baltic Sea, exceptions a small amount of the rivers in the north of the country which flow into the Arctic Ocean. In Finland, which is often called the country of thousands of lakes, there are about card lakes occupying 9% of its space. Usually lakes abound with numerous gulfs, peninsulas and islands, are connected among themselves by channels and form branched lake systems. Small lakes with average depths of 5-20 m prevail. However, within the lake plateau, which is in the central Finland, quite big and deep reservoirs meet. So, depth of the Lake Päijänne reaches 93 meters. The most extensive lake of the country, Saimaa, located in the southeast of the country. To the north of the lake plateau there is a large lake Oulujärvi, and in the north of the province Lappi, the big lake Inarijärvi. The number of the rivers in Finland reaches till 2000. They abound with thresholds and falls. The most part of the rivers has small extent and connect lakes among themselves or flow from lakes to the sea. The biggest rivers, Kemijoki, Aulioki and Tornionjoki, flow in the north. The Kemijoki River has the most extensive network of inflows. Also in the country there are 36 channels with 48 locks. Channels, generally small, also connect the rivers and lakes of the country, sometimes bypassing falls. The greatest value has Saimaa Canal, which is partially passing across the Leningrad region and connecting the Lake Saimaa with the Gulf of Finland. For June 2015 in the country there are 39 national parks. On the right it is possible to study their location on the map of Finland. Territories in which rare or valuable animal species and / plants live, there are features of a landscape, unique natural objects meet. Their total area exceeds 8,000 square kilometers. Proceeding from the right of each person for the nature N, determined by the Finnish legislation. Financial. Jokamines. Any person can be freely in the territory of national parks. By the way, the National Park of the Archipelago of Finland along with National Park of Åland is entered in the list of the European Organization for Protection of the Pan-Parks Parks. However, hunting in security territories is categorically prohibited and is pursued by the law, and cultivation of fires in national parks is authorized only in places specially allotted for this purpose. Besides, in these territories it is impossible to make the cabin of trees into litter. Often in national parks there are special platforms for a lodging for the night, and in some houses can even be leased. Among entertainments in national parks of Finland, rowing on a canoe, alloyage on kayaks on river thresholds, campaigns on snowshoes are presented. A large number of bicycle mountain routes and also routes for driving on snow scooters is laid. The mountaineering and skiing are widespread. Also, the right of everyone for the nature defines that everyone can freely move across any territories, except the cultivated agricultural grounds and lands which are directly adjoining houses. If there is no direct threat for life, that is at a temperature it is above zero, use of naked flame. Cultivation of fires without the permission of the owner of land is forbidden. Gas burners and other similar heating devices don't belong to naked flame.
Across all territory of Finland there are so-called shelters.
Financial. Lavu. Where, as a rule, there is a canopy from a rain, a bonfire, and happen also firewood for cultivation of a fire. Since 2012. On the first Sunday of August. In the country there passes annual day of open gardens during which everyone can examine achievements of crop production as in the state, and private enterprises. On August 31 in the country the Day of the Finnish Nature is celebrated. At advance from the south of Finland with huge number of small islands and rocks are replaced with the north, landscapes of the sea coast by the dense coniferous. Mostly pine. Woods covering the central part of the country. The total area of the woods is 20 million hectares. About 60% of the territory of the country. The woods are rich with bilberry, raspberry, cowberry, a cranberry and also mushrooms, white, boltuses, aspen mushrooms, chanterelles, voronoknik roskovidny and others. Separate years are fruitful for a mushroom. In the north there are hills of Lapland overgrown with thickets of cloudberries which are almost deprived of wood vegetation. Due to the warming of climate, in the south of Finland gain ground as local broadleaf breeds. A maple, a linden, an oak. An introduced species in certain cases. For example, there is a probability of broader resettlement of a beech in coastal areas of the southern Finland. Among spring primroses are widespread coltsfoot, Ipecacunicnitz and noble and others. Number of invasive plant species such as the cowparsnip of Montagotsi, the Tuchipersum fruitaris, a lupine multi-leaved and some other threatened biological variety of the Finnish nature. Symbol of Finland is the swan clicking. For their November 2012 there were 60,000 individuals. Among birds also eiders, grey herons, croakle, crested ternit, dives, lake and silvery seagulls, thrushes ryabiniki, chaffinches, white whitetails, lapwings, field larks, starlings, cranes, tundrini partridges are widespread. A number of predatory bird species, Escopa, etc. are among rare. Global warming influences birds and leads to the fact that the territory of their distribution and also time of nesting and migration changes.
Waterfowl even more often winter in Finland. Many types remain in the country longer and longer in the fall.
Every third bird species is in Finland under the threat of extinction. Many species of sandspurs and ducks. Society of Amateur Ornithologists of BirdLife Suomi and also Eurobirdwatch event held in the fall draw attention of people to autumn migration and protection of rare birds. The only endemic among mammals in Finland is the Saimaa seal, who is under the threat of disappearance. For 2013 there were about 300 individuals. Also on the verge of disappearance there are polar foxes, Glutton's wolves. For 2017 about 150-180 individuals united in 8 families. Also 11 families migrate between Finland and Russia. Natursnoknitsa, forest netopper and forest polecats.
Populations of a beaver of an ordinary brown bear.
For 2014 about 1,500 individuals. Plainxis, sea eagles Balakvostav and Letyag ordinary by 2015 restored the livestock and were excluded from the category of rare species. Population of Alps makes about 73,000 heads. In 2013 decrease in the general livestock of reindeers was noted. Reservoirs are rich with a smelts small fry, a raipushka and other species of fish.
The 2010 years were celebrated by emergence in the territory of Finland of a number of invasive breeds of animals, slugs of Arion vulgaris, the American mink.
Fishes, a silver crucian, a bilcalf round timber, a white-tip gudgeon. Lake Saimaa. The Russian salmon. In 2013 in the Tenojoki River. It is noted that hedgehogs, rabbits, squirrels and foxes became habitual inhabitants of the Finnish cities. Emergence in city parks and lesser zone of Helsinki of Nestovaya of the protected flying squirrel is noticed. The Department of Food Safety of Ivira carries annually out spring vaccination of wild predatory mammals in territories border with Finland, with the purpose to prevent penetration of diseases on the territory of the country. Since 2013 the position of the representative for affairs of animals in competence of which it is founded enters. Improvement of welfare of animals in the Finnish society, the introduction of initiatives and offers and also commenting of questions concerning the rights of animals. The law obliges citizens of the country to report about the animals who are in a trouble. Finland is among the countries with the cleanest ecological situation of the environment. The question of toughening of formulations in the criminal code in the field of ecological crimes is considered.
One of current environmental problems in the country are questions of acidulation of the soil and warming of the atmosphere because of influence of natural types of fuel.
These problems are recognized as international, and Finland is engaged in their decision together with other countries of the European Union. So, according to the EU regulation on decreasing emissions of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere by 2030 for 40% of the level of 1990, Finland I intend to reduce emissions to 50%. According to the Statistical Center, as of July 1, 2021 the population of Finland made 5,543,659 people. For many years birth rate indicators concede in the country to mortality indicators, at the same time growth of the population which happens due to immigration is observed. In December 2015, for the first time from 1998 years, decrease in the country of number of Finns. On 704 persons as 0.01%. An increase by 7% of number of foreigners is noted. 2016 is celebrated by the lowest birth rate for all history of the country since 1917. Age structure of the population of Finland as of 2020. 0, 14 years minus 16.41%. 15, 64 years minus 61.33%. 65 years or also more senior minus 22.26%. Average age of the population of Finland as of 2020. All population minus 42.8 years. Men -41.3 years. Women -44.4 years. Ratio of number of men and women. All population -0.97. 2020.
The expected life expectancy of the population of Finland as of 2021.
The general -81.55 years. Men -78.63 years. Women -84.6 years. Rate of increase in population of Finland as of 2021, 0.26% a year. As of 2021, 85.6% of the population of Finland lived in the cities.
According to the research conducted in 2013 by the University of Oulu and the Center of the Environment of Finland, 70% of Finns live in the cities or municipalities surrounding the cities, occupying only 5% of the territory of Finland.
Population. Since the beginning of 2020, growth of the population was 10854 person. Growth happened only due to immigration. Natural losses of the population made -9025 people. In 2020, 278,917 people who had nationality of other country except Finland. 50866 of people from them citizens of Estonia and 28866 people citizens of Russia, 14708 of people from Iraq, 10458 of people from China, 8041 persons from Sweden, 7851 persons from Thailand, 7237 people from India, 7059 people from Afghanistan, 6915 people from Syria, 6630 people from Vietnam, 130,286 of people from other sphere of the world lived in Finland. Russians, 1546 people. Iraqis, 602 persons. Somalis, 541 persons. Estonians, 516 people. Thais, 304 persons. Afghans, 264 persons. Ukrainians, 220 people. Syrians, 205 people. Swedes, 196 people. Indians, 181 persons. Other nationalities, 3241 persons. Were the most widespread nationalities which obtained the Finnish citizenship in 2020. On survey conducted in 2013 by Helsingin Sanomat, 52% of Finns consider that arrival of immigrants to the country needs to be limited. In 2011 there were 46%. From January to June 2013 in the country there arrived 1,400 people who are looking for shelters. On number of applicants: on the first place natives of Iraq, on the second Russia, and on the third Afghanistan. In the country there are also 700 people who received the decision on deportation. The largest ethnic minorities in Finland: Karelians, the Finnish Swedes. About card. Roma, the Finnish Jews, the Finnish Tatars and Sami.
In spite of the fact that Russian-speaking inhabitants in Finland there are more than 70,000 people, this group isn't recognized as officially ethnic minority. The Russian-speaking population of Finland consists of a large number of different groups, from the Russian-speaking residents of Estonia who moved to Finland to business of emigrants and specialists of the different industries from street.
Petersburg. The biggest Russian-speaking group are Ingermanlandski Finns and their descendants. Most of Russian-speaking residents of Finland know also Finnish. In Finland there are no regions with compact accommodation of the Russian-speaking population. The active integration policy pursued in the country in relation to foreigners doesn't save, nevertheless, from the signs of racism which are observed at the household level, workplace discrimination, distribution of rumors in social networks about crime among foreigners. The research conducted in 2014 among school students of 38 countries revealed that the Finnish boys most negatively treat immigrants.
As of the end of 2019, 404,179 people of a foreign origin lived in Finland. That makes 7.3% of the total number of the population of the country.
Till 1809 Swedish was the only official language of the Duchy Finnish.
After accession of the territory of Finland to the Russian Empire, to Swedish as official Russian was added, and after the publication of the Imperial Decree of August 1, 1863 in the Grand Duchy Finnish till 1917 three languages, Swedish, Finnish and Russian became official.
From 1864 to 1903 names of streets and official institutions were duplicated in the following order. In Swedish, in Finnish and in Russian, and from 1903 to 1917 in Russian, in Finnish and in Swedish. After finding of independence by Finland, according to the special law adopted in 1922 in the country, the use of two state languages, Finnish and Swedish, remain so far.
The initiative of 6 municipalities of East Finland sounded in 2011, 2012, Tokmajärvi, Imatra, Lappeenranta, Pumola, Mikkeli, Savonlinna petitioning for introduction of the 5-year pilot project within which at schools of these municipalities it would be possible to replace studying of Swedish with studying of Russian, since the 7th class didn't find support in the government and wasn't approved by the Ministry of Education.
In 1992 in Finland, the law on Sami, according to which Sami has in the country the special status, came into force. In particular, those decisions of Parliament, decrees and government resolutions which concern the Lappish questions have to be translated as well into Sami. Since December 2013, the national broadcasting company Isle of Finland began release of television news in Sami. Broadcasting is carried out from television station in Inari. In the 2010 year's growth of interest in studying of Finnish by students of the European higher education institutions was noted. As of 2020, 86.9%. 4,811,067 people of the population of Finland speak in Finnish. 2%. 287,871 people of the population speak in Swedish. 0.04%. 208 people of the population speak in Lappish and speak 7.8%. 432,847 people of the population other languages. In Russian -1.5%. 84190 people. On Estonian -0.9%. 49551 people. In other languages. Arab -0.6%. 34282 people. English -0.4%. 23433 people. Somali -0.4%. 22794 people. Kurdish -0.3%. 15368 people. Persian -0.3%. 15105 people. Chinese -0.2% people. Albanian -0.2%. 12664 people. Vietnamese -0.2%. 11562 people. Etc. 5.4% of the population of Finland say. Statistical data carry Finland to the countries with the smallest religiousness of its inhabitants, though according to the Constitution of Finland, Evangelic and Lutheran and also Orthodox have the status of the state churches. Representatives of churches use the concept national church, but not state. A relationship between church and the state is regulated by special agreements, an activity of churches, the special legislation. The established church has the right for the extraordinary church tax. Gathers through the government tax institutions on the basis of voluntary entry of citizens into this other church structure. For 2014-74, 0% of the population of the country, 2 Orthodox, about 1% belong to Lutheran Church. 1.4% belong to other church denominations for 2009, and 19.2% of inhabitants had no religious affiliation. Among Lutherans of Finland, rather big percent is made to the Lastadiana.
For 2013, 304 communities of Jehovah's Witnesses, in which about 19,000 people were registered, acted in the country, and meetings were attended by more than 26,000 adherents of the organization. Since 1985, the special amendment to the legislation, male adherents were exempted from a conscription in armed forces of the country, but now,
2018. The question of her cancellation is considered.
In 2014, at the request of Society of Support of the Victims of Religion, the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Ministry of Justice of Finland carried out a number of ministerial inspections regarding legality of activity of legal committees of Jehovah's Witnesses.
For 2013, about 50,000 Muslims, whose most part immigrants and their children, lived in Finland. In 2016, the number practicing in Finland Islam for the first time exceeded number of Orthodox Christians. More than 40 Muslim prayerful rooms work in the country. Construction of the first mosque in Helsinki is planned. From the second quarter of the 19th century in the country, also Finnish Jewish community with the operating synagogues in Turku and Helsinki was created.
Researchers of 2015 note growth among pupils of the Finnish lyceums and schools of extremist moods in the form of the hatred or intolerance based including on religious ideology.
Since 2016, the Radinet project about deradicalization of society works. In 2020, 67.8% of the population of Finland belonged to Evangelic and Lutheran Church. Orthodox Christians there were 1.1%, 7% were adherents of other religion. We aren't religious, -29.4%. Finland, the unitary state with one partial autonomy. Åland Islands. Form of government. In a form of government, Finland is the Republic. The higher executive power in the country belongs to the president, who is elected for a 6-year term by a direct national vote. According to the constitution, the legislature belongs to the president and Eduskunta, parliament of the country, and executive power, to the president and the state council. All these power structures are in the capital. The parliament in Finland elects the government, the state council, makes decisions on the state budget, approves the international agreements. Deputies have the right to submit bills from own face or on behalf of party.
Besides, parliamentarians take cognizance the bill supported during so-called citizens' initiative for what it is necessary to collect at least 50,000 signatures of citizens of the country.
In April 2019 in Finland there took place the regular parliamentary elections. Executive power in the country is carried out by the State Council, Valtioneuvosto, into which the Prime Minister and the necessary number of ministers, number no more than 18, enter. The Prime Minister is elected eduskunta and then is formally approved as the President. The President of the country appoints other ministers according to the recommendations of the Prime Minister. The government together with the Prime Minister resigns after each parliamentary elections and also according to the decision of the President of the country at loss of trust by Parliament, according to a personal statement and in some other cases.
The judicial system of Finland is divided into the court which is engaged in usual civil and criminal cases and the administrative court which is responsible for affairs between people and administrative bodies of the state.
The Finnish laws are based on Swedish, and in a broader sense, on civil law and the Roman right. The judicial system consists of local courts, regional courts of appeal and the Supreme Court. The administrative branch consists of regional administrative courts. Alueelliset hallinto-oikeudet. Till 1999 provincial administrative courts.
Lannanois.
And the Supreme Administrative Court.
Korkein hallinto-oikeus.
It is chosen for 6-year term a direct national vote. The highest judicial authority, the Supreme Court of Finland.
Korkein oikeus.
Courts of the Court of Appeal, outdoor courts. Hovioikeus. Courts of First Instance, Courts of Ting. Käräjäoikeus. Till 1993, District Courts.
Valtakunnanhus.
Body for trial of officials, the National Court. Valtakunnanhus. The supreme body of public prosecutors' supervision, the Chancellor of Justice. Oikeuskansleri. The territory of Finland is divided into regions. Financial. Marken/Swede. Landskap. Regions on the cities. Financial. Kaupunki/Swede. Stad. And communes. Financial. Kunta/Swede. Common. The number is reduced nearly in every year because of mergers. In 2010 there were 342. In 2011 is 336, the large cities on city parts. Financial. Kaupunginosa/Swede. Stadsdel. Regions cope the agencies of regional government. Representative bodies of the cities, city councils. The chosen by the population, executive bodies of the cities, city boards. Till 1978 the magistrate. T. Consisting of the municipal burgomaster. And Ratman. Headed by burgomasters. Are city directors. Representative bodies of communes, municipal thoughts. The chosen by the population, executive bodies of communes, municipal boards. Headed by burgomasters. Or municipal directors. Communes are united in 19 provinces/areas/regions. Managed by regional councils.
Activity of the authorities of the province, their power, relation with the central power and bodies of the European Union are regulated by law No.
602 about regional development of July 12, 2002. Till 2010 the territory of the country was divided into provinces. Laziness. Which were operated by the provincial boards. Headed by governors. Appointed by the president. Besides, communes within provinces can will unite in under provinces. Used in the police purposes and for collecting statistical data. Their quantity is also reduced and since 2011 is 70. 67 on continental Finland and 3 on the island islands. The nationwide laws regulating activity at the level under provinces don't exist. 20 largest cities of Finland. Helsinki 1,305,893. Tampere 341,696. Turku 277,677. Oulu 205,137. Jyväskylä 128,911. Lahti 119,469. Kuopio 91243. Pori 83479. Joensuu 72621. Vaasa 67789. Lappeenranta 56075. Rovaniemi 53604. Seinäjoki 51300. Hämeenlinna 50975. Hakka 50400. Kouvola 47391. Hyvinkää 43262. Porvoo 38743. Mikkeli 37218. Kokkola 36887. 8 largest political parties of Finland. For 2011. Eduskunta. Yksipuolue. Yksipuolue of the Centre Party. Of Finland. Carl Haglund. Carl Haglund of the Swedish People's Party. Paavo Arkimäki. Paavo Arkimäki Sils. Tuuliiniinisto. Tuuliiniinisto of the TPs. In 2015 a plan by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland to closing of embassy in Luxembourg, Slovakia and Slovenia, and the temporary representation of Finland in Lebanon is transformed to embassy. By the beginning of 2016 Finland was presented by representations in 89 foreign states. Forces of Defense of Finland consist of personnel employees. 8.7 thousand professionals. And also conscript recruits. In January and July about 12,000 recruits are called, including 300 women.
All structure is subordinated to the Commander of Defense Forces who, in turn, is accountable to the President of the Republic.
Since August 1, 2014 the commander from Finland is the Lieutenant General Jarmo Lindberg. The budget of defensive forces of Finland makes slightly less than €3 billion a year. For 2014, armed forces contained 31 general positions, from which by 2015, in connection with the general reduction of staff, there was 28. After World War II, Finland steadily adhered to the extra bloc status. Though the question of the accession to NATO in Finland is periodically brought up by the right forces, there are now no reasons to change this policy. The country doesn't plan to be a part of NATO or any other military blocs.
Nevertheless, the program of military cooperation with many countries entering into the NATO alliance is carried out.
All citizens of male Finland from 18 years are subject to conscription. Service life makes from 6 to 12 months. Alternative: not military service. In recent years, growth of so-called total refuseniks. In 2011, 21, in 2012, 41 people. Which the military or alternative civil service is replaced with controlled house arrest is observed. Inhabitants of the Åland Islands aren't called up for military service. Since 1995, an army can serve as volunteers of the women. In 2014, till the 4,000 soldiers interrupted service life. From them 3,000 for the reasons of mental and behavioral disorders, depression, problems with adaptation, alcohol and drug addiction. The Union of Recruits asserting the rights of the conscript military personnel works.
During Cold War, Finland could mobilize up to 490,000 reservists in case of military operations, but this number decreased up to 350,000 in connection with reduction of the military budget now.
Armed forces of defense of Finland include the Finnish Army, the Finnish Fleet, the Finnish Air Groups. Boundary protection of Finland is included into submission of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, but can be included in armed forces in case of need. As of 2007, the number of naval forces of Finland was 7,900 people, including 4,300 servicemen of conscription service. Now there is a reduction of financing staff number. For 2008, 2012 shots are reduced more than by 10%. And garrison SIL of defense of Finland. For economy, reduction of conscription term for 2 weeks is supposed, and also the possibility of dismissal of professional soldiers, that is officers that was never offered earlier, is allowed. The police of Finland submit to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and the total occupied in police department makes 10.9 thousand people, from whom directly police in 2014 was 7.5 thousand. In 2012, 7.7 thousand. 681 persons from the civilian population of the country, or the share of one police officer tilde. Annually, about 800 police officers become subjects of petitions from citizens about crime commission. From this number, about 100 police officers fall under investigation. According to the prosecutor Anssi Haivel, police officers are suspected of the basic in use of violence or driving in alcohol intoxication in time free from service. From 2013 to 2015, decrease in trust of Finns to police in the field of corruption was noted. In 2013, for prevention of a number of crimes, drug traffic, etc.
The police bought till the 2000 permissions to application of confidential methods of electronic surveillance. In this connection, phones of 770 people were wiretapped.
Since 2015, police cars across all Finland are equipped with the devices which are reading out car registration numbers and allowing to establish whether they underwent the car checkup, payment of taxes, speed and a method of driving of the car. Quadcopters and drones are used to control of the territory, vehicles and people by police. Also, armored police cars Morco for use are put into operation during Massachusetts riots. In 2012 in Finland about 500,000 crimes were committed. In 2014 89 crimes connected with illegal transportation of drugs were recorded. Is 10% less than in 2013. However, the number of serious narcotic crimes grew from 202 in 2013 to 300 in 2014. Total number of the revealed drug-related crimes in 2015 was 23478 cases. In 2015 increase in a share of foreigners 25%. In the general statistics on rapes in the country was noted. In 2016 the general decrease in number of crimes was noted. In 2014, according to the independent organization World Justice Project, Finland took the 4th place in the rating of constitutional states, and the Finnish criminal justice was recognized as the best in the world. 2013 in the Finnish prisons contained 3,200 prisoners who on average served a semestrial sentence. Despite good safety, a number of cases of violence among serving sentences noted. In 2014 in the country there was a record quantity leaving lifelong. From 12-year-old term increased in recent years up to 14 years and 4 months. The conclusion for deliberate murder -211 people. In 2000 life-term prisoners there were 59 people, and in the 1990s less than 30. Within last decade on average sentenced for manslaughter for 9 years of imprisonment. In the 1980th years of only 10% which killed were condemned under the article, premeditated murder. In 2013, nearly a third.
A number of the Finnish prisons implements the training programs for prisoners calculated to the aid with their rehabilitation after the termination of a prison term. At the end of 2011 in Finland the long-controlled house arrest at which the person sentenced board half a year of prison can be at home with the electronic bracelet fixed on a leg or a hand which works at an exit for the zone stipulated by police game in divorce.
Pay expenses on controlled house arrest are 3 times less than keeping of the prisoner in prison. During Tarja Hallinen's presidency, the last satisfied till the 22 petitions for pardon a year. The current president Sauli Niinisto considers practice about pardon a remnant of the past and intends to give completely institute of pardon to judicial authorities.
In 2015 the Parliament adopted the legislative amendment according to which the penalties left without payment since January 2016 will bring a defaulter on a dock again. According to the ex-Minister of Defense Carl Haglund, the situation when Finland involved in the conflict could work not with military methods. In this connection, the minister suggested to develop methodology and the strategy of conducting a cyber war by Finland as stated in the Finnish legislation today. The Minister of Internal Affairs Petteri Orpo also insists on updating of the law of Finland on intelligence activities on which police and military will acquire the right for investigation in information networks. Finland is among the small advanced industrial countries. Her share in world production is small -0.4%, in world trade -0.8%. The gross internal product of Finland in 2002 made €140.5 billion. Growth in comparison with 2001 was 1.7%. Finland is included into forward party of the countries of the world on DDD indicator per capita -44492 dollars. At par purchasing power. US dollars. Unrated value. According to 2017. In January 2013 the volume of export was €4.6 billion. 3% more than in January 2012. The share of products of chemical industry from the Finnish export exceeded 1/4. About 50% oil products. Export of products A3 and metalworking grew. The collapse of export of mobile phones is noted. From 0.5 million pieces in January 2012 up to 32,000 in January 2013. Revenues of the state from taxation are €65 billion. By estimates, Finland annually receives less €7.7 billion because of non-payment of taxes. About €4.1 billion are the share of the bankrupt firms and other companies evading from taxes. Revenues of the state from excises on sweet in 2013 were €78 million. As of the second quarter 2016, the average amount of compensation in Finland is €25.09 net and €33.80 gross in a month. Advantages. The industry focused on export and quality. The developed sector high-tech. Cartographic service here, internet services. The first place in the world on production of paper. Fast restoration of volumes of export after recession. Low inflation, times is lower than 2% in a year. The growing investment attractiveness. Gate to Russian and Baltic economy. Part of the Eurozone. The strengthened growth of economy. Weaknesses. Strong recession in 1991-1993, real DDD decreased by 15%. Quickly aging population, early retirement. Big national debts and external debt. High unemployment. 10%. Undeveloped domestic market. Peripheral arrangement in Europe. In 2009 the police made 611 investigations of economic crimes, in their 2013 there were 326. The same trend is noticeable also in adjudications. In 2010 the court gave 416 bans on business activity, and in 2013, 342. For 2014 in Finland about 1,000 bans on occupation work with business, at the same time annually on his violation come across from 30 to 40 businessmen. By estimates of 2014, the annual damage to the state from computer problems in workplaces of government employees reaches €275 million. In 2013, on the basis of the report of Body of the Council of Europe on Fight Against Corruption, Greco, and also researchers of the German office of the Ernst & Young Company, Finland remained one of the least corrupted countries of the European Union.
In 2012-2014 Standard & Poor's, Moody's and Fitch Ratings rating agencies on the basis of annual inspection of a number of the large companies and government institutions, assigned to Finland the highest score on the long-term credits. AAA. Only in October 2014 the Standard & Poor's agency downgraded the country to A, having justified the decision with the weak prospects of growth of national economy. In the annual rating of the World Economic Forum, Finland in 2013 took the third place, after Switzerland and Singapore, on competitiveness, and in 2014 the fourth. According to the research conducted in 2014 by OED, the Finnish school system is the most cost-effective among industrialized countries. Finland treats one of the most northern agrarian countries. Agricultural grounds occupy 8% of all territory of the country, and arable lands are estimated in 2 million hectares. The most part of farms are small farms with cropland less than 10 hectares, but the trend towards increase in the size of farms is traced. Agriculture, also as well as cattle breeding, has high extent of mechanization. In connection with the entry of the country into the EU, only the quantity of poultry farms in the country in the period of 1995-2012 was reduced from 3,000 to 350. Annually for seasonal agricultural works on gathering berries and mushrooms about 15,000 people, a half of whom foreigners, are attracted on average. The Russian food embargo of 2014-2015 yielded to agriculture of Finland multi-million losses. The Finnish steel-making enterprises, Outokumpu, Finsteel, etc., some of the leading producers of stainless steel in the world. Wärtsilä Oyj, the Finnish public engineering company which makes the machine and other equipment for the power plants using gas, oil and different raw materials. Wärtsilä, some of the most popular diesels on big sea vessels and large yachts. In 2006 electricity consumption in Finland was about 83.6 billion UH, from them about 20% were imported. At the same time import from Russia reached up to 1,300 million in separate years each. Since June 7, 2015, in connection with depreciation of the electric power made in Fennoscandia, Finland for the first time in the history began to carry out export to 350 million hours. The electric power to Russia.
The power cable Fennoscan connects power systems of Sweden and Finland near the city of Rama. In 2005 about 20% of the electric power were developed on Lovi's and Olkiluoto's nuclear power plants.
In 2005 construction of the third power unit of Olkiluoto began. The block had to be started in 2010, but term is postponed all the time. Current date of start is appointed to 2018. Tourism is one of components of economy of Finland.
In 2011 the country was visited by 7.3 million tourists, that is 17% more than indicators of 2010.
In 2015 Finland was visited by 7.4 million foreign tourists. One of the most popular with foreign tourists, the city is the capital of Finland of Helsinki. Also other large cities are also popular.
Tampere, Turku, Oulu, Kuopio and Porvoo.
In the period of Christmas holiday and New Year, the country is visited to 100,000 tourists from Russia. By estimates of the Center of Advance of Tourism of MEC, development of travel business in the country restrains the stereotypes which developed at foreigners that Finland, far away, cold and expensive country. In this connection, MEC urged to destroy the developed prejudices. According to the Eurostat agency, Finland is recognized as one of the most expensive countries of Europe. The prices in the country are higher Central European for 20%. Distinguished Mount Ovasax are located near the polar circle, the Lake Saimaa and others from nature sanctuaries of Finland. In Finland, mostly in Lapland, winter tourism, descents for fans of mountain skiing and a snowboard, campaigns on snowmobiles, driving on dog and servine teams is developed. Kimi builds every winter the huge snow fortress of Lumelina with ice hotel. Fattihan near Kusamo, Tusu near Kemiarvi, Saraselia, Levi, Hymas and Yulias are known for the ski slopes. In connection with demand for services of healthcare, growth of number of the Russian tourists coming to Finland on treatment and improving actions is noted. The separate category is made by religious tourism, or a pilgrimage, for which visit of the Christian centers located in Finland, one of which are the New and Valam and Lintalski monasteries.
And a year visits monasteries to 15,000 tourists from Russia. That makes 1/7 all visitors. And the decision of Guild of the Finnish Journalists writing about tourism, New Valam Monastery was elected as the best tourist object of Finland of 2012.
On the Uniform Museum card, which appeared since May 2015, is on sale in cash desks of the museums and works within a year. It is possible to visit more than 200 museums of the country.
Since January 2015, the electronic portal by means of which not indifferent citizens can give information on cases of violation of the tax law.
In 6 months, about 3,500 statements arrived. Acts on the website of Internal Revenue Service fee. Also, on the middle of 2016, more than a half of tax declarations arrived in electronic form.
By the situation operating till 2016, Finland had no right to levy taxes on the Finnish pensioners living in Spain except for those someone before retirement worked in the public sector.
The Finnish pensioners who were also living in Portugal within the first 10 years were completely exempted from payment of taxes. Since April 2016, similar practice is abolished. Passenger traffic to Finland is made by all main types of transport: road, railway, aviation and sea. The management of roads is engaged in Highways of Finland. Financial. Tiehallinto. The department subordinated to the Ministry of Transport and Communications. For 2014, the admissible blood alcohol content of the driver was 0.5 per mils, but the program for decrease in norm to 0.2 per mils is offered. The railway system of Finland is operated by the state company, Ratahallintakeskus, subordinated to the Ministry of Transport and Communications. With Russia, Finland is connected by 2 trains, Leo Tolstoy, Helsinki-Moscow, and Allegro, Helsinki Street, Petersburg.
Allegro is the high-speed train on the Pendolino platform and gathers speed to 220 km per hour.
In the territory of Finland, the track with a width of 1524 m is applied.
External and internal air transportation in Finland carries out about 20 airlines, including 2 Finnish. Finnair. Earlier, Aero. The Finnish airline which controlling stake is owned by the state, and private airline, Fincom Airlines, which carries out joint air transportation with Finnair. In the country of 28 airports, the largest of which Helsinki-Vantaa located in Vantaa. The Finavia company manages 25 airports. Ferry traffic with Sweden, Estonia, Poland, Germany and Russia is carried up. Export of products of the pulp and paper, woodworking, mechanical, chemical, light, food industry. Main foreign trade partners. EU countries, Russia. In recent years, Mail of Finland from the enterprise which is engaged only in post services turned into the enterprise which offers various logistic services, services of administration of data and material flows. The company works at the international market. For convenience of users, in a number of the large cities of the country of Itella introduced smart post automatic machines for delivery of parcels in the standardized post packing. In Finland, 3 telecommunication companies, leaders of the market of cellular communication, Elisa Oy, Elisa, Telia Sonera Oy, Sonera, and DNA. Work. The researches conducted by Aalto University in 2013 showed that speeds of data transmission of mobile networks often don't correspond to the stated advertising promises of cameramen. In the large cities of the fastest there was a mobile network of the cameramen of DNA, and mobile networks Elisa and Sonera operate more better on the city outskirts and in rural areas. In 2015, in the rating of the World Economic Forum, Finland was designated as the leader in number of mobile internet connections. 100 inhabitants minus 125 connections. Japan minus 116. Hungary minus 33. At the same time, researchers noted the low level of digitization in the country. However, in 2016, by assessment, Etla made by Research Institute of the Finnish economy, the country gained the lead on digitization level among 22 countries of Europe. In 2013, among citizens of Finland at the age of 75-89 years, only every fifth used the internet. About 300,000 Finnish pensioners had no computer, and 40,000 pensioners had no mobile phone number. According to statistical data, in 2013 Finns used the Google search engine of 30 million times a day, on 5 million times more than in 2012. A number of the companies opened the data centers in the country. In 2013, the Google Corporation invested in the project in Hammond about €800 million. For cooling of the electronic equipment in the center, seawater is used. In 2014, Microsoft opened the center in the region Uusimaa. In 2015, the German company, Hetzner N., expressed the intention to invest about €200 million in construction in the city of Tuusula of the data center. Plans for laying of a fiber optic cable from Germany to Finland on a bottom of the Baltic Sea are developed. In the international rating of social development D as of 2020, Finland takes the 3rd place. At the same time, steady advance of the country up in this rating is observed. In 2015, Finland took the 7th place in 2019. In 2011 in the country there were 1,459,705 buildings, from which 1,245,671, 85.3%, residential buildings. Private certain houses minus 76.1% of all buildings. Line 1 and 2 storied houses. The neighbor only sideways. Minus 77060, 5.3%. High-rise buildings minus 57233, 3.9%. On average, security with housing of citizens of Finland in 2015 made 40 m. In Helsinki minus 34 m. In August 2012, average housing price in the old multi-story building in the capital region was about Euro 3,300 for 1 m. And in other cities minus 2,100 euro. In February 2013, growth of cost was 4.3% in Helsinki. Euro for 1 m. And over the country minus 1.4%. Euro for 1 m. In 2014, according to the forecast of the Economic Research Center Palermo, increase in prices for housing will be 2.5%. According to the statistical center, rent of the apartment can be profitable only for the short-term period. In other cases, purchase of housing is expedient. In 2013, the cost of the land plot under construction of a house in the capital region was 720 euros for m. And in other parts of the country minus 87 euros for m. The general growth from the beginning of the odd years was in the capital region minus 108.9%, over the country minus 52.7%. According to forecasts of Danske Bank, in 2014-2015 in Finland, new increase in prices for housing will begin. In the last quarter 2012, growth of a rent on leased housing in the region of Helsinki increase was 2%, in other regions of the country minus 3.7%. Was noted, and the general increase in a rent in 2012 averaged 4%. Across Helsinki minus 5%, in Tampere minus 2.6%, in Turku minus 3.2%. Decrease in volumes of construction of rent housing in the Helsinki region sparked sharp criticism of the government of Katainen from opposition. According to the State Program of Development of Housing for Aged, on which 92% of aged people have to live more than 75 years houses, receiving services at home, till 2030 there have to be 1 million free apartments in the cities for the increasing number of elderly people. For 2013 such apartments there were only 300,000. The typical Finnish family is the man and the woman living in the marriage union. The average size of the Finnish family for the end of 2018, 2.75 persons. In 1990 the Finnish family on average consisted of 3 people. About card people live some. According to the Statistical Center, at the end of 2018 in Finland there were families, but their number began to decrease in 2017, and in 2018 decreased by. For 2013 in the country the 25th was got married 1,000 and 14,000 are terminated. During the period from 1995 to 2014 in Finland, 1138 minors, from most of which part girls, married in total. From them, about 30 people were at the time of a marriage at the age of 15 years. Under the law on marriage, minors' permission of the Ministry of Justice is required. For 2013 in Finland, 26,000 families in which one or both parents, natives of Russia or the former USSR. On the second place on the country of origin, parents from Sweden, and on the third, from Estonia, were registered. The number of families with children in 2018 was reduced from previous year to card. In parallel with reduction of number of families, the share of childless couples increases. In 2018, the number of the childless couples living in a civil marriage increased for 2530 in comparison with 2017, and the number of childless married couples increased for 1900. For the end of 2009 in Finland, there were 12% of incomplete families where one of parents single mother or the single father. 1244 persons were registered consisting in same-sex civil partnership. In 2013, the number of such unions decreased to 405. In them, about 600 minor children were brought up. In case of a divorce and aggravation of an interpersonal relationship, the so-called ban on approach works in the country. In November 2014, the Parliament of Finland approved the bill initiated by citizens of the country legalizing same-sex marriages in the country and granting to same-sex spouses the right for joint adoption of children. In February 2015, the President of the country, Sauli Niinisto, approved the entering of corresponding changes into the law on marriage of Finland. The law came into force on March 1, 2017. According to the ratings of the international organization, Save Children, for 2013 and 2014, Finland is the best country of the world for mother and the child. In 2012, the country took the 6th position. The financial position of families with children in Finland was one of the best in Europe, but despite it, 102,000 children lived in 2014 in families with low income. According to experts, the choice of a name to newborn children is influenced by fashion trends in culture and also regularity of finish. In 2016, with adoption of the new bill, the payment for services of kindergarten was raised. By estimates of 2015, the sexual activity of Finns in recent years decreased and married couples had sex on average 1-2 times a week. 2/3 of the Finnish men and 1/3 of women use products of the porn industry. Finland, the first ever country where the concept of the right of the patient in the 60s was entered of the 20th century. These rights actually are applied in life, considerably complicating work of the doctor and facilitating participation in treatment of the patient. For example, it is impossible to hide the diagnosis from the patient in Finland, and it is even criminal. At the same time, the patient has also a right not to know about the diagnosis, what he has to notify the doctor on. The medicine in Finland is evidential, that is only those methods of treatment and diagnostics which efficiency is proved by a scientific method are applied. The bill of the ban of application of methods of non-conventional medicine on small children and seriously sick patients is drafted.
For 2010, the medicine is almost free for residents of the country. Almost all costs of treatment are compensated from the state budget. The insulin and other drugs necessary at chronic diseases are free for citizens of Finland.
Since January 2014, in connection with the new EU directive, foreign workers from the third countries which concluded the employment contract for the term of not less than 6 months will have the right for the same medical and social services as citizens of Finland, and also will be able to receive a monthly allowance on each child.
New rules won't extend to foreign students from the third countries. Since October 2010 in Finland, a new law on smoking, which is completely forbidding to sell or transfer by different way tobacco products to persons under 18, came into force. It was also forbidden to get tobacco products on the internet. In shops, tobacco products can't be exposed by sight. Smokers have to choose cigarettes according to the catalog, calling number. Due to the popularity of Tattoo-Ravani, since 2013 the Ministry of Health of Finland considers the possibilities to expand control of drawing tattoos.
One of the reasons for which in Finland for the old years the number of abortions among women of 25-34 year age doesn't decrease is called the continuing decline in income of the population, and a large number of abortions among teenagers, education gaps in the field of sexual health.
According to instructions, in urgent cases, ambulance in Finland has to reach to the patient no more than in 8 minutes. Since 2013, not municipaliteilla, but medical districts will be responsible for work of service of ambulance.
According to the researches conducted in 2013 by ODE, adult Finns became the second in the world,
after residents of Sweden and Japan. On the level of knowledge, in particular, it concerns reading and arithmetics and also ability of use of the computer at the solution of various tasks. However, the IQ level of the population of Finland doesn't rise since 1997. And skills of reading strongly weaken. Among the Finnish pupils of the 4th classes, the motivation to reading is in the penultimate place among school students of 45 countries. The legislation of Finland guarantees to the citizens general secondary education. Visit of school isn't an indispensable condition, and about 200 children study at home. The comprehensive school assumes 9 years of training, and children start going to it in 7 years. School academic year lasts 188 days, and municipalities independently distribute them between autumn and spring half year. Most often the first half of the year lasts 89 school days, and spring minus 98. Occupations begin since August and come to an end at the end of May. Schools pay attention to safety of children and educational process. The child goes to the school, nearest to the house, but the trend among parents to send children to more prestigious from their point of view educational institutions is noted. If to school it is more than 2.5 kilometers, then under the law of the school student to the 6th class are obliged to deliver there and back to the taxi at the expense of municipality. Is school free of charge, issues textbooks and all office supplies, and train in Finnish, mathematics, natural study, housekeeping. Training in fundamentals of religion. Lutheranism or Orthodoxy. Happens only with the consent of parents and according to religion. Atheists have the right to allow to teach the child secular ethics, and in case of objection children are exempted from any of courses. Library shelves stand in a corridor, and access to them free. Researchers note that every 10th Finnish school student is exposed to mockeries in the place of study. In August 2013, the Minister of Education Krista Kiuru said that she has intention to issue the new law by means of which will probably regulate the sizes of school classes. Marks in elementary grades aren't put down. The gradation in a verbal form is used perfectly well, changeably, and the training is required. Since the 4th class marks are given in the range from 4 up to 10 points. Also, there are estimates for behavior, ability to work in group and to one, good breeding, and aspiration to influence others to the best. From the 3rd class, the first foreign language, English, is added to objects, with 5 second. German, French, at the choice and desire. The foreign language child, for example, from family of immigrants, needs from the 1st class studying of the native language. From the 7th class begin to learn the 2nd state language, Swedish. In elementary grades, objects unite. Chemistry with physics and biology, language with literature. And teach housekeeping to all without distinction as to sex. The Finnish school writes much. Various essays are designed to teach the child to have the opinion on each question and to state in the literary language.
After leaving school, the young man can continue study in a gymnasium in which training comes to an end with passing an examination on the school leaving certificate, or to come to average and professional educational institution.
For 2013 in Finland worked 25 higher educational institutions, 10 universities, 10 more specialized institutes. In them technologies, business and economy, art are studied. Also the military academy is ranked as the universities. In 2014 the Ministry of Education increased a quota of the universities for 3,000 regular educational places. However, reduction since 2015 of financing of higher education institutions by €280 million a year, led to reduction of the staff of teachers of the universities on 5,200 people. Among the universities, the oldest and the most known is the University of Helsinki. In Finland there is a significant amount of programs as for those someone planned training at a baccalaureate step, and at the following steps. Programs are presented in the Finnish, Swedish and English languages. The higher education, as well as initial, is completely free for citizens of the country, for foreigners from EU countries and European Economic Area, and also students on exchange. For other groups of students since 2016, paid training which cost will be till the €4,000 a year will be entered. A number of students takes the bank monetary credits for the training in higher education institutions. In April 2020 in Finland 433,000 unemployed were registered. In 2010 unemployment among Finns made 8.7%. Among Russian-speaking -28%, and the leading positions on unemployment in Finland were taken by immigrants from Somalia, Iraq and Afghanistan, more than 50%. From 2012 for 2013 unemployment rate among people with the higher education, especially in the sphere of natural sciences and technologies, grew by 30%.
Experts don't note a tendency to decrease in number of the unemployed in the country. The Minister of Labour Lauri Ihalainen urged the Finnish men to master more actively traditionally female professions in the social sphere, education and healthcare, demand for which remains.
Irritated with tendency for test when deserting about new public guarantees approved by the government on the basis of which the authorities are obliged to give obligations for employment to the place of study to all young people aged up to 25 years met considerable difficulties in mid-cities where annual deeds of number of the unemployed fall only to men university graduates are registered as unemployed.
Job centers. For October 2013, the average salary of the working Finn was in a public sector €36.47, in the municipal sector -€29.32 and in the private sector -€32.79. In comparison with 2003, the salaries of government employees grew on average by 44%, and in the municipal and private sector -35%. It is noted that the difference in salaries in Finland between men and women increases with age. In age group up to 30 years of the man and the woman receive identical salary. The difference makes at most 10%. Among 40-year-old above, the difference grows to 15-20%, and in some cases into 40%. According to data of Statistical Committee, the difference began to grow in the income of the Finnish citizens sharply in the mid-90s, and it reached the peak in 2007. For 2013, income of the richest was reduced by 5.9% because of reduction of profit from sales and dividends, while income of the poorest increased by 2.6% thanks to indexation of social privileges and reduction in taxes. In 2014, according to the rating of the pension systems of Melbourne Mercer Global Index, Finland took the 4th place. Investments of a number of the Finnish insurance companies are in China. For the beginning of 2013, of 870,000 households in the country consisted of pensioners. Average pension equaled €1,600. While pensions of certain ex-heads of the exchange companies were from €0.4 to €0.6 million a month. In 2012-2013, average age of citizens of Finland at retirement was 60.9 years. According to the project of new pension reform, since 2017 the age barrier at retirement is planned to be finished step by step up to 65 years, that was approved by the Parliamentary Commission. According to Department of Healthcare and Social Development of FL, from among Finns who were 80 years old, only every sixth lives in the house or boarding house for aged, and 85.8% houses live. Part of them receives home care. Only every 20th, 5.4%, is looked after by the relative or the spouse who issued guardianship. In 2013, 73,000 people became pensioners. It is predicted that the remaining trend of reduction of the general seniority will give in the future to existence in the country up to 500,000 pensioners with the minimum pension. In 2016, the Minister of Labour and Justice Jori Lindström it was offered to send to pension of all long-term unemployed 60 years whose status of the unemployed is more than 5 years, that was approved by the government or more senior. The scientific research institute conducting in Finland is the State Center of Technical Researches in which 2,500 scientists and experts in 9 cities work.
The budget of in 2006 was a little reduced and made €216 million. 2005 €225 million.
Financing from the state also decreased a little -€76 million and makes 35% of the budget of
2005 €78 million. The Academy of Finland AF is an administrative structure of the Ministry of Education and also as TEEX doesn't incorporate research divisions. Acts as the coordinator of the international cooperation of Finland, first of all in the area of the European Union and the European Scientific Fund. The main activities of AFA development of the directions of scientific policy of the country, increase in the authority of scientific work and efficiency of implementation of results of scientific research. Financing of research works on the AF line in 2006 made 15% of the total costs of research and development and was distributed. The universities -80%. Scientific Research Institute -10%. The foreign organizations -8%.
In Finland, much attention is paid to development of science and technology parks, which are considered as one of the most important elements of innovative infrastructure of the country, promoting deepening of cooperation of the state research centers and universities with the industry. The greatest number of science and technology parks is located in the capital region of Helsinki -3 science and technology parks, in Tampere -3 and in Seinäjoki -2.
The largest science and technology park is the research complex in the capital region of Helsinki of Otaniemi, which is located in Espoo with it in the Helsinki Technological University, at which 14,000 students study.
Finland rather effectively uses financial opportunities of the EU for carrying out both own and international research and development. In Finland, from all number of scientific research, over 2% are financed in the area of the EU. Within the budget of the EU on research activity in 2002-2006, Finland participated in 400 European projects to the subsequent large research directions, for which €146 million were allocated. Finland actively participates in the international cooperation and innovations through network of the centers of the EU on advance of innovations of ERC.
Innovation Relay Centers. For the purpose of development and distribution of innovative technologies.
The Finnish National Network of the Centers for Advance of Innovations, ERC Finland, was created under the leadership of TEEX and includes 7 technological companies in the largest cities of the country:
Helsinki, Espoo, Turku, Tampere, Oulu and Kuopio. In 2012, Finland took the 3rd place among 142 countries in the field of information technology development. In the country, of 80% of households have the computer. The 16th place in rating. 87% of the population regularly use the internet. The 7th place in the world. 61% of the population use Wi-Fi. At the legislative level in the country, the quantity of experimental animals at scientific experiments is most reduced.
Along with Norway and Japan, Finland is on a position of leaders in the cumulative circulation of newspapers concerning population, though the level of popularity of printing editions in recent years considerably decreased.
For 2011 in the country more than 2,000 magazines were issued, and their cumulative circulation was more than 15 million copies.
According to researchers of last year's, 9 of 10 people in Finland aged from 12 up to 69 years read newspapers every day, but data of 2015 showed decrease in an indicator.
Since fall of 2014, to readability of printing newspapers for 3% and magazines for 2%. On the basis of poll of Institute of a Research of Media, aimed in 2014, Finns when reading newspapers and magazines were used by various gadgets, and reading newspapers on the smartphone increased almost 3 times during the period from 2012 to 2014. For 2014 in Finland about 200 newspapers were issued,
from which not less than 4 times a week are printed and 30 newspapers appear daily.
The general circulation of newspapers is 4.25 million copies. 40% fall to the share of a party press from them. In 2015, researchers from the Lappeenranta Technological University noted lack of a variety and similarity of contents of the Finnish newspapers. The largest Finnish newspaper, independent, Helsingin Sanomat, leaving daily with a circulation of 338,000 copies and up to 100 pages. The following in popularity are Omuleti and Turn Sanomat. Daily circulation of the last more than 100,000 copies. The largest Russian-language edition in Finland is the monthly newspaper, Spekter, appearing in Helsinki with a circulation of 15,000 copies. For July 2015. The largest Shvedoyezhny newspapers are Hufvudstadsbladet and Obo under Telstar. From 2010 to 2015 in the Index of Freedom of the Press, made by the international organization Reporters Without Borders, Finland won first place.
However, at the end of 2016 was criticized from this international organization, which expressed concern about Yle position in connection with the scandal connected with news about Sipil's Prime Minister and possible involvement of the Prime Minister in a question of financing of activity of the government.
In 2019 in the Index of Freedom of the Press, Finland took the second place, after Norway. On surveys conducted by the Taloutusitkamus company in December 2014 follows that only 40% of Russian-speaking citizens of Finland completely trust the Finnish media, and 47% didn't decide on the position. The national system of radio and telecastings belongs to the state. Broadcasts are broadcast all over the country on 3 channels. Besides, in a number of communes, local radio stations with the mixed capital work. The television has 3 nationwide channels. Along with transfers of editorial office of the state-owned stock company, Yle. Financial. Adlia Radio, Swede. Rundradion AB. Which includes TV channels Yle TV and a radio channel of Yle Radio 1. On them are broadcast under lease also programs of the private MTV TV company and TV-3 concern. For the last 15 years, the regional and city networks of cable television relaying satellite transfers widely extended.
Now all someone have houses the TV are obliged to pay charge for use to them of about €250 a year.
Since 2013, this collecting will be replaced with a television tax which will have to be paid all constantly living in the territory of Finland, except the persons which don't have income.
The amount of a tax will depend on income and to make from €50 to €140 from the person in a year.
Finland is one of 3 countries which received title Capital of Design 2012. And the most famous Finnish design brands are Marimekko, Fiskars, Aritka, Arabia, Nokia and others. Activity of artists is supported in the country by the system of numerous grants.
Export of the rights for the translation of the Finnish literature in 2012 increased almost by 60% in comparison with previous year.
In 2011, €1.26 million, in 2012 about €2 million.
About a half of sales of the rights for the translation of literature falls to the share of fiction, 1/3 to a share of children's literature and 10% to a share of popular scientific literature.
In 1904, in the Grand Duchy, Finnish shooting of a newsreel for the first time began, and in 1906 the national product company Apollo, founded by Carl Stolberg is created. In 1907, with participation of actors of the Finnish National Theatre, the first national short feature film, Secret Moonshiners, was shot. Directors Louis Spar and Tuvo Puro. In 1913, the first feature film, Sylvie, appeared. According to the play by Minikant, Sylvie the director Tuvo Puro. During the period since 1909 on 1911 and from 1917 to 1918, movies in Finland weren't issued. In 1919, a new product company which laid the foundation for the screen version of works of the Finnish national literature, Anna-Liisa.
According to the comedy M.
Kant, Anna-Liisa, 1922, directors Puro and Bayou. Snellman, The Old Baron from Rautakel. According to the short story by S. Topelius, 1923, the director Fager. Numi's Shoemakers is founded. According to comedy A. Kiwi, 1923, director E. Kara. In the 1920th years, new firms, Komedia Film, Fennica Film, and Akilaswami Compania, were created. Tests in the field of animation were undertaken in Finland in 1914 by Erik Vastrium, but his works remained only in separate drawings.
The oldest of the remained animated films is work of the director Hjalmar Jovinga of Several Meters of Wind and Rain.
Financial. Mutama Metritulta Yasadeta. Presented to the viewer in 1932. The first full-length Finnish animated film, Seven Brothers, was issued in the late 70s. For more years, art of animation began to be taught in educational institutions of Turku.
In 1933, Erkki Kara founded the largest Suomen filmteollisuus in the country.
Among the best Finnish movies of this period, Juk. 1937. A Way of the Person. 1940. Put by Nyrki Tapiovaar's director.
Since 1931 there is a Kinaleti magazine. In 1952 the Union of Film Workers of Finland is founded. Researchers 2009-2011, conducted a coordination of experts from University of Eastern Finland, revealed regularity that observance of the food allowance, traditional for the northern countries, including whole cereals, especially a rye, the vegetables and root crops, berries which are grown up in Finland, fruit, apples, oil of cabbage field, ripshilji, low-fat dairy products and 3 times a week fish reduces the probability of inflammatory processes in an organism that in turn reduces risk of diseases of atherosclerosis, Alzheimer's disease and some types of cancer tumors. On polls of 2017, cinnamon bun is recognized in Finland as the most popular entertainment to coffee. Besides the Ministry of Culture and Sport, in Finland there is an extensive network of the institutes and departments which are responsible for development of cooperation between the states and regions in the sphere of culture and science. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.